what's up, everybody? Joe Misfit Glenn here. I'm here with Pops from Pops Baked Beanz Genetics. In just a few seconds, we will get started, and I just want to wait for a few more folks to show up. We got 5 in just yet, but we'll wait for hopefully 10. You know what? Screw that. Anyway, so everybody, welcome to the show. Pops, introduce yourself for me, my man.
Hey, man. I'm Zach McCormick. Everybody just calls me Pops, though.
That's what's up, man. So Pops, tell me about. Well, I hear you're a breeding genius, man, and you do some really good stuff with genetics. Tell me about what brought you into this kind of love, man. I mean, why is it that you do this kind of stuff?
The same reason everybody else is here. It's out of necessity. I needed the plant, and it saved my life. I was in the foster system and had a really goofy childhood, and it was constantly in trouble in school. And me and my principals and teachers, they just kind of were like their last leg, and they were like, look, whatever it takes for you to sit there and shut up, we're just going to keep moving you up. So I would sneak in High Times and Weed World magazine and Skunk magazine in between my math books so nobody else could see what I was doing. And it was great for a long time. And then when I got to junior high, like my principal just had a hard on for me, and he'd take them from me.
Right.
And, just going through the motions, I had a traumatic experience happen in 2012. And I just went out to Colorado. I wanted to follow my dreams because of all that was going on. I felt like it was that, or I was just going to take my own life. So I was like, fuck it. There's nothing else here. Jumped on a Greyhound with $400, met my roommate on Craigslist on the way out there. And just hooked up with Robin and Sherry Hackett, and, just found a way in the industry. I was volunteering for these little ladies.
Sure.
And we went from medical in 2012 to recreational. And that's when I really got into breeding. Robin was showing me how to breed cannabis while my wife was finishing school. So I was working on Cinderella 99 crossed with the original white. And that's just where I just found the passion for it. And ever since, we've just been collecting genetics from everywhere. I've got so many friends in the industry. My library is up to about 200 hunted tested moms. I've got 90 unique to me only strains. Some of my friends of the Time Machine Genetics, some of the stuff we're working on now is from Phil from Weed World. He owns Geno Farms. He's been documenting him and his friends collecting cannabis around the world since I was a baby. And just through a unique chain of events in the universe, Phil blessed me with over a dozen genetics that are predate me in the earth. I was born in 86. Some of these land races, the Moroccan land race, the Afghan land race, the Thailand race. We have original first gen gear, some of Mark Mandelbrot's sour stuff that we're working with. It's just amazing. I mean, it's just a passion that I picked up, and it allows me to meet so many cool people. And it's just it's an art form. It's an expression of who I am. I lose myself in it.
I'll tell you, man, just from your age alone and your knowledge, you're a natural. Like this is what you're meant to be doing. Listen, man, I know a lot of old timers that have done this their whole life, and they don't have that knowledge that you have. So either you got hooked up with the stellar people that knew it all, that had been, that just really paid attention to the breeding, and they taught you, or you just get it, man, which not everybody can get that. So kudos to you for that, man. And I'm glad that you're helping out, dog.
Thank you. We're doing it. We me and Phil partnered up. Geno Farms. Him and his partner, Professor. They've got a bigger farm than I would ever even attempt. He's a 3rd generation farmer, so the genetic pool that they're in possession of makes mine look like a dunce in the corner.
Right.
So it's just it's a good relationship. Geno and them, they hook us up with seed, and then we turn around and we hook it up with you guys. Any vets is like even if we don't sell them to the vet, if you can prove valor to me, you can find me, I'll give you free seed. I'll send you seed for free. Don't cost me hardly anything. And if it's one of those things that, it'll help you get off pills or help you with the depression or the PTSD. And I have some strains that are, uber far ahead of their game with PTSD because I suffer from it myself. My uncle Ben, um, his uncle Larry came back from Vietnam, I believe, and just kind of got lost in the redwood forest, helping other vets with meds.
Yeah.
And Ben somehow got these seeds gifted to him, and he gave them to me in 2021. And I didn't think nothing of him the first time I saw him. I was like, okay, let's interbreed it and see what happens. And the
Right.
numbers started cranking up, and like you said, is we got testing all the way from 16s and 14s, and now we're up in the 30s and 31% on this strain. The only crack shot is that we don't know what it is until I'm going to fire off the RNA on it to try to figure out against the available RNA and certain blockchains to try to decipher it myself. But we've also started working on interbreeding with other males. That way, I do have a basis. That way, now that I know what I'm working with, I can turn around and start working backwards.
Right.
It is a wonderful strain. And it was a straight fluke.
Wow.
They didn't know
That's
what they had, and when Larry was alive, they get a life sentence for this. Like a lot of these genetics, they never saw their full potential. It was this
sure.
uh, the nostalgia that was around the strain because it was better than the Mexican Cincy weed or the import
Right.
crap that people were finally getting at the tail end of prohibition, really clamping down. Um, so they didn't have time or the foresight or even the knowledge of how all this worked. So now that we have all the wide open licenses, like we're just going to look backwards. It's what some of the time machine stuff is like I was telling you earlier, is like, I'm not looking for those females that were around 40 years ago, as I'm looking for the males. So we can use those tactics to interbreed. The same technique you use with silver, we can use to stabilize with males. It's just not a very common practice because it takes a lot longer.
Right. Right. Well, to be able to bring those genetics and put them into some of the newer strains that we got, just like what you were talking about, that can be some real serious shit right there.
Well, yes. Okay. So all of the research in cannabis that, the medical research that's around cannabis now is dependent on the bastardized genetics that we have. For the past 30 years, we've been washing and diluting the cannabinoid pool with silver and bad breeding techniques. Somebody with silver hair like you told me you had a really old strain. I'd take you at your word. But kids that are younger than me that think they have real life skunks or real life sours, like, no, you just don't. I mean, you just don't. There's no way that you're going to keep a plant viable for 50 years in veg and it's still going to be producing exactly what it was back then. So it's a lot, especially for somebody my age, be stepping on the scene saying, we've got stuff older than me. It's only because my partner is literally older than me. But it's one of those things is like, it's once we can test it and we know what's there, we'll just make it available. If there's a lot of people in my realm that have been using these genetics to build their empires. If we can get the RNA back to the beginning, start with no diluted silver, anything, I feel like I could reach out to Kevin Jordy and Nat and Haley and a lot of the other people at the top level and be like, yo, you guys just want to start over with what you have with some very unique cuts from back way when. Some of these OGs and the dogs and the Kims, like, what if we could just start over with what you already have? You already have your recipe. It's like, I can't make the female better, but we can go back and bring you a male from back then. And just open up, use it as leverage. It's not so much like we're trying to sell it out. I don't think that's what Phil intended. He kept it in his closet for 40 fucking years and finally handed it to me. Obviously, we'd like to make some royalties down the road, and that will come. But for the most part, it just goes back along with my giving. It's like we got the library. I only need it for very select things I'm doing. So it's just kind of selfish to hold on to it. But we'll have to get Phil's family's blessing, and we'll have to reach out to Mark Mandelbrot's family and let them know what we're doing and make sure that they're going to be okay with it. So I'm not facing some lawsuits or something down the road.
So you were mentioning strains for PTSD. Do you have any strains for anxieties and depressions, which all comes along with PTSD? And if so, what kind of names are we looking at? Like, if they're your strains?
Okay, so they're in my library. So like the hash plant, awesome plant for depression. I mean, it just really is. But it's not an original. It's just one that we picked up, and a really good source is like, hey, this is my hash plant. We reached out to Rick Caponello in 2021. He owns Brothers Grimm Seed. We asked him for the access to the time machine. I was like, let me get the skunks and whatever was, hot in that time frame. And he sent us a bunch of Afghan hash plants, the Kim Dog skunk cross he did in early 90s or early 80s, a bunch of Lebanese, a bunch of Pakistani stuff. I mean, it's where we just first got started. But it's the same deal. It's like anybody that's anxious, that gets anxious, I wouldn't recommend sativas. I have some sativas like the Malawi Gold crossed with a Kim Dog skunk. I wouldn't smoke it. If anxiety's your problem, you want to try to stick harder to the indica. In my case, maybe that's not everybody's case.
I'm all about the indicas, man. Yeah, for sure. But I do know people that smoke the sativas for all those things, and that's what they write for it. Like sativa is supposed to help you with anxiety and shit. It's not that way for me. It makes everything worse.
Yeah.
So indica for me, it's got to relax my muscles, got to relax my bones, and slow my head down, because I'm a fast thinker. I'm always thinking.
And maybe you should try. It's not just smoking. Like the better way of consuming cannabis on a medical level is oral ingestion and spot medicate through the day. Instead of eating 100 milligrams, is what your relief is start with 5, and then a little bit later another 5, and just work your way up to 100 throughout the day. And spot medicating is what I do. I don't smoke all day. I can't afford to smoke all day. I got a multi-state cannabis operation going on. We're trying to set up recreational in Illinois and Missouri. I'm trying to set up a THCA dispensary in Tennessee. We have 3 dispensaries in OKC, a 4th coming online. I'm in the last phases of that right now. Working with some cool kids in California, trying to get them online. They just reached out of the blue this week, and I was just like, I'll jump on that. So,
that's what's up.
Just trying to keep it different, man.
Hey, so I know that for the group, not everybody is involved in this, but I live in Oklahoma. Talk to me about what you got going on with these dispensaries you got in Oklahoma.
Okay, they're called Hidden Gem. I have 3 different locations. We took it over, and I still have a lot of not old cannabis, but some of the stock from the previous owner. And just to get it off the shelves, we're doing penny ounces for veterans. If you guys can make it to my store, or know somebody with a med card that can make it to one of my stores, we'll honor that. You guys show your valor. If you're a new patient, we'll break you guys down flower ounces for a penny.
Wow, that's impressive, man. Cool.
We're buying med cards for patients also. You got to come to the store though. It's not an open call. Like, you have to show up, and if you take your time to show up to one of my stores and put your name and number on the list, this weekend we're going to start buying med cards for patients, starting with the vets.
Hell yeah, man. Wow. Thank you for all that. I appreciate what you do for the brothers and sisters, man. I appreciate that.
I'm not a vet. I was a test candidate for Adderall, so I actually missed the. They wouldn't touch me. So
damn,
it would kind of
That sucks, man. That sucks. So, do you have anything that you're specifically working on that you're really excited about that maybe you could give us a little sneak peek about?
Yeah. So it falls back on the time machine stuff. This is the it's one of Mark Mandelbrot's sours, original sour royals, and we did a pollen drop on Afghan landrace, a original mango line, an original cheese line, and a roadkill skunk. We're going to fire off the RNA testing. We're going to harvest it. And like I said, I like to see the DNA testing against the other available cultivars in the blockchain we're going with. Once we can confirm it is as described. This guy, Phil, it might as well be the fifth gospel of Phil if he's talking about cannabis. You know what I mean? Like, if he's talking about it, like, he's not bullshitting about it.
Right.
So I just have to take everything for what it is. I mean, I've been burned in the past. I've lost a lot of rep and good grip of friends. In 2018, we attempted this with CBG before CBG was actually a big thing. And I bought a couple pounds for like 80,000 cash and was giving a whole pound away to vets. Halfway through that pound, we realized that the seed was not as advertised. It was CBG. It was not feminized. It threw 2 really good phenos, a male and an auto, and the female phenos are really nice. But the damage is already done. So we're gonna backtrack and we're gonna make sure this as described. And then, like I said, we're gonna go back to the original people that had these genetics and find out what they would like to do with them now that we have them again.
Wow, nice, man. Cool. Sounds good. Let me look over here, man, and see if there's any specific questions for you. I don't think I saw any.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think you're answering everybody's shit right off the bat. You're pretty informative when you speak, man. So that's always a plus, bro.
So that's what the Pops Baked Beanz is about, man. It's like, if you guys can find me on the website, it's a free membership. I send out seeds. We send out a welcome email that has my email, my Instagram, and my family's cell phone. It's meant for a vet. If you're having a breakdown day, or if you feel like you're about to throw your sobriety away after 25 years, just call me. Like, let's talk. If you feel like nobody else is going to listen to your problems, hit me up. No judgment. I might not have that second, but once you get it across that this is a 911 situation, I'll put everybody on hold. We did it for a vet in Mississippi last week. He hit me up and he felt like he was going to throw his sobriety away after 2.5 decades, and we found a solution to the problem. He kept his sobriety intact, and he was Superman on the day he needed to be Superman.
Hell yeah, man. That's good. And that's what this vet coach is about. It's mostly about us, being there for each other. Seriously, above and beyond the cannabis part, that's always great. And that's how we help medicate ourselves. But this is about the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, and just people giving a fuck about you. That's what this is about. Seriously. So I got a couple questions real quick. Where's your dispensaries, man?
I got one off of May Avenue, North OKC, one off of Broadway Avenue, and one off of Main Street. They're called Hidden Gem. We're all over Google. Okay, so Hidden Gem, and it's all in Oklahoma City area, guys. And so you could just check that out. Also, TJ, he's asking about the lounge. What's up with the lounge, bro? Oh, wow. Okay, so I do have a MMJ-friendly lounge, and it doesn't have to be MMJ. We can shut the dispensary down. But it's one of those things it's just anything you can think of that you want to do. If you want to do a party, you guys want to do a graduation, after funeral, bike rally, anything that you can think of. We have a small venue. It's 150 people max for now. And you just got to work with our marketing lady to book it out. Every second Saturday of the month, we have industry night. Is a lot of my friends from the industry that, we like to showcase what they have outside of my dispensary, exclusive drops. We got Jake's Jungle, Sonoa. Just too many to mention, man. I got a whole Hill Tree. There's just a ton, and it's every second Saturday of the month. And you got to buy an eighth or a joint or something to get access, and it's from 6 to 8, and we can do live music. It can't be anything above acoustic, though. Like, I don't mind a small DJ with a real small speaker, but we are in the city, so we do have a lot of ordinances we have to watch out for. Nice, man. That's impressive. Yeah. To go above and beyond like that, man. That's impressive. I appreciate that. Yeah. Let me see. Laws for out-of-state people. So what I know about that is that if you're an out-of-state person, I believe you can come to Oklahoma and get a pass for a weekend. Am I wrong? Do you know any more about that? Yes. If you have a medical card in your state, it's a simple process. We just reach and we apply through here to our OMMA portal, and they give you a temporary card it's like 30 days. I don't think it's like a weekend furlough or nothing, but I think it's like for a whole 30 days you can come, and while you're in town, still get access to your meds. So it's a 30-day pass. You pay $100 and apply for the reciprocity. That's it. Reciprocity. Reciprocity. I couldn't think of the word. That's good info. Thank you, Nikki, for that. Appreciate you. And it's like I said, it's like THCA works the same. So if you're from out of town and we can't do cannabis, I got something really, really close. Right. Got you. Cool. You know what I mean? That's what's up. But well, shit, man. I know that you got some stuff coming up real quick. Like, I want to get you moving. Don't you have another call here, top of the hour, we could blow a couple more minutes, man. But we can talk about it. Cool. I didn't want to hold you up, man. I know. I got time. I got time. But y'all go ahead, hit me with the hard stuff.
Yeah, let's go, guys. You got some questions, man. Let's see. He already told you all about his genetics, man. There's a lot of genetics out there, man. I'd like to get my hands on, but literally through this group, I just started. I've won seeds, and so I start popping them so I can show everybody how they progress, and what I do in between. And now I got so many strains. I think I have like 15 different strains going at the time, and man, it's a little bit. I'm right here, dude. Like one more plant, and I'm over. You know what I mean? And so it's always fun, though.
Well, it's the love of the hunt. It's the love of the hunt, man. It's just something. Man. Every plant is different. Like every female's different. Every leaf or snowflake's different. It's just something about each one that, out of the 200 that we have, there's countless that we just don't want. We'll get all the way through the process and hunting and all the back crossing, and it's just like there's nothing here that's going to be a wow. Right. So we've probably thrown more than 200 that we keep. That's what a lot of the free seed to the vet is the F1 and S1 gear that we just didn't know. It's like we thought this would be a good cross, and we just either haven't got to it because of everything I got going on with my multi-state operation.
Right.
Or it's just when we want to see what it is, and I'll tell them, hey, me and you are the only people with this. Just take some pictures and let's figure out what it is.
Sure.
Like my P3, there's only a couple kids that have it's Purple Haze crossed with Purple Punch that we back crossed with the Purple Punch again. It is phenomenal smoke. But it's we still have to hunt it. So we're still in a lot of processes. And now that I've stepped into the time machine stuff, we're just looking for males. I've got enough girls. I'm happy, man. If I can go back and capture some of these nostalgic males and bring them back. That just for the smells, just for the terps that have been extinct for 20, 30 years.
For sure, man. So TJ's asking if you still planning on a vets night at the lounge, my man.
Yeah, we were going to talk with my marketing lady this weekend about that and try to get one set up, like a steady one through the summer. It's like we'll just market that one night and shut it down just for vets with cards all the way up till 8. And then after 8, when we shut the dispensary down, and for another hour or two, we'll keep it open for anybody that's not got a card, or we can just shut the dispensary down and just do a BYO, bring your own bud kind of thing.
Cool. That sounds slick. So next question from Aaron. He asked about what's some good skunk strains that you'd recommend. He says he has 8 strains so far. Can you see that comment? Can you read that? Yeah, I think it's up there.
I can see that.
Okay, cool.
Any of them, all of them. I mean, the skunk, I think, is one of the arguably most notoriable cannabis varieties of all time. I think when Sam, the skunk man, kind of hit the scene and ran amok with it, the real skunk kind of got lost in translation because there's so many varieties of it now, so many different chemotypes that are still available. It's like the skunks that everybody's looking for, that roadkill, burnt rubber, rotten urine smell.
Right.
Those skunks almost certainly don't exist anymore. But through hybridization, and we knew what the skunk strain was. We knew what all 3 of them were. So a lot of different companies just sought for those strains and try to make their own version of skunk. And it's pretty close. I mean, just where you're sourcing your skunk from is the best, best I can tell you. Is like when somebody my age walks up and is like, hey man, I got a skunk this or that.
Right.
And in my head, I'm wanting to headbutt them for lying to their self about it. But it's just like, cool, where'd you get it from? Mm-hmm. And it's, not saying that everybody, doesn't have a real skunk, but it's just one of those things that for 50 years, everybody's had a skunk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it, man. I get it. And, I know that there was a couple of strains that I was just given, and they tell me what it is, and it wasn't no damn way it was that.
Yeah. And I think that is what 99% of the problem is just, somebody gets it in their head, or it's a miscommunication along the line. It's like, Aaron, I have such and such skunk, but Joe was calling it skunk. He didn't actually know what it was because his uncle Mark was calling it skunk, and Mark got it from Joe that was calling it skunk.
Right.
So it's you just get to the bottom of it with an RNA test. There's available blockchain DNA samples. You just, instead of hunting them, just fire a sample off. It's between $300 and $1,000 depending which genomics program you go with. And what they do is they'll compare it to all of the other available RNA to that strain. And that's how you decide. That's how we really starting to look at what's important and what we should really hone in on.
Sure.
For me personally, where I'm at.
Gotcha. And it makes sense, to go back to the original and you being a breeder, you could probably figure out maybe possibly where a strain went sideways for you. Yeah. And like in years in the breeding process.
It's the
and
notes.
You go back and start it over. That's what you were talking about earlier, right?
It's the notes we keep. I mean, it's cataloging everything we do is it's half my day, honestly. It's just little scratch notes. And I mean, it's, it'd be hard for somebody to figure out if I passed away. Like we've had some other strains from Mark's family. We know what it is, but we don't quite know what it is because nobody knew what his wording was.
Sure.
So it's once we find, we overdo it. We keep, we'll take the mom, and then if this is the one that I'm wanting to breed further along, I go ahead and take a cut of it. I put it in production, so I know I have that unique cut. Hopefully later this year, we're partnering with some companies on the East Coast to do tissue culture, where I can get everything in tissue culture, homeostasis, so I can just kind of let these fucking moms go and focus that space and that energy and that time on actually doing something else besides keeping up with moms. Because that's a full-time chore in itself. My cousin on the East Coast has got a hemp farm, and he's holding my plants down because I just keep adding to it.
For me, I've literally been, like I told you, I had that plant that I've had for several years. Well, it's the pheno. So I take a cutting, and by the time the next one is done flowered, my cutting's already damn near close to being able to get into flower, and I take a cutting. And so it's just a revolving door. And so that's how I've been able to keep her going. I don't have to, I've had a mother plant for several years, but that was more of a pain in the butt than doing it this way. Much like what you just said. And it was a struggle, but I would seriously like to just hold off on this particular pheno, but keep it around,
it's a one of those things is like you find something you like and you like it. It couldn't hurt. I mean, it's just one of those things is, like what you're trying to do is get it in a seed form, find a male that you like and drop them together. That way, if you do lose that one female along the way, at least you capture the essence with the cross somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I've had to learn about losing moms is like, we just didn't have them for production. Like I hunted them and I stuck them in the corner, and for whatever reason, we lost that plant and I can never get it back. So it's always, I mean, if any chance you can, if you find a pheno you like, drop it and mix it with something and just go back to working with the pheno you like. But if there's ever, down the road you lost it, it's like, hey, I got this in the closest form we can get it. And that's a lot of the stuff. When we reached out to Rick Caponello, is like, I don't have an exact skunk, but I got a bunch of skunk crosses we had at the time. And that's the best you can do sometimes.
Well, and I'm good with that. I don't mind, but I just need either a seed or some pollen. And so, that's where I'm at. And that was, like I told you, the whole reason why I decided to start breeding myself. It was the next step in my evolution of growing, and I'm just not being successful yet. But here we are talking to the master, right? So,
well, I was just a guy. But the point is I've partnered up with you guys with vet codes. And it's my understanding that you're going to have your own grow eventually in Oklahoma. Through one of the guys that run the group, Mr. TJ. When y'all get your farm online, I got y'all. And instead of trying to hunt it and trying to start it from seeds and trying to go through the process, let's just skip all that, go straight to hunted, tested moms, and then start the processes y'all are looking for. You guys ain't that far in Oklahoma. It's like one of those things that we can collab and help y'all with.
Hell yeah, I would appreciate that. It'd be really cool. We're trying to do some really good things for the community here. Just got to get started off, and it takes time, and it takes time to get there, but we're in the process, and bringing on people like you and having that option to get a hold of you, that's what we really appreciate, man.
Oh man, anytime. I mean, that a lot of people don't understand that freedom's not free. Like everything that we take for granted, somebody bled for, and that's
exactly.
If I can't relate to you guys with the valor, but I talk to so many vets and fight with so many vets. Like they all say I would have made a great soldier. My uncle tells me all the time I'd have made a great soldier. Just because I don't give up. I have that switch in my head that I can switch on and off that just will not allow me to give up. Like when people tell me it can't be done, like the switch goes off and I'm like, well, fuck, now I got to do it.
I'm gonna show you.
It's like, now I got to do it.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm hoping that we can keep the success rolling. I mean, cannabis is always one of those industries that's, you're here today, gone tomorrow because you didn't pick your friends correctly, or, you put your foot in your mouth, or you decided you weren't going to work with vets at your dispensary or whatever. I mean, it's an easy place to get lost. I've been doing it since 2012 and I've had to rebuild myself a couple times.
Well, man, I was telling you that I had been in the business for 2 years, professionally growing, right? And I met a lot of dudes, a lot of people. Let me just put it that way. A lot of people in the community, the cannabis community. And there's a difference between you and me and you talking right now, and everyone else is the reason I got out of the business, because they were all about themselves and the money. Clearly, you haven't talked about yourself much. It's all about what you're doing for everybody else. So that right there tells me that you're not a selfish person and you're not self-serving. So that's where that military vibe comes in my opinion.
I mean, it's just the honor, the loyalty, and the respect to what we got going on. And, it's, I've been a shithead. I'm not gonna lie. I've been a bad guy. I've been a drunk. I used to, like getting high. I don't do any of that. I got kids. I got a wife. I take care of my mom. I got a German Shepherd. It's about the help. When you guys come home, or when you typically get out of the military, you've been not brainwashed, but you've been steered clear of all narcotics. That's not part of y'all's culture. Y'all don't get high in the service. So coming home, it's hard to adjust to the different Thorazine and the different Oxycontins. I was speaking to one of your guys the other day. He said when he got home, they were prescribing 80 Oxycontin milligrams a day. I mean, that's just like legal suicide. So if the finding the relief in the plant is what helps you guys, then that's what it is. Like my relief isn't so much from the consumption of the plant. It's from finding somebody like you that gets actual relief from the work that me and my friends are doing.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the best high I got in weed, is when I find a bunch of people. There's only about 9 states right now that we haven't sent genetics to. And for whatever reason, I just haven't met a vet or met anybody there. But there's a lot of bad characters. There's a lot of, I'm not going to talk about anybody because they're not here to defend themselves. I think that's a coward's way. But there's a lot of bad characters in the industry that are just in it for the win it. We found a guy the other day. The company sent him so much seed, he literally was just fed up. And I was like, hey man, just send me your fucking address. I got you. So hopefully those guys are back on track this year in Maine. And we'll see. I've never grown in Maine. I've never seen autos grown that high in latitude neither. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Sweet, but it's not about self-service, man. This is, cannabis can be a lot of things. You can make it that. I think that the people that self-serve, like they're only here for a moment. They're here for a season or two. But if you really want to be in it like the legends and want to be known as one of the influencers and the person to go to for knowledge or genetics, like it's a long game. I plan on doing this until I got old gray whisker like you, man. And it's leverage. It's the cannabis library in itself is like the more I discover about what wealth is, it's not money. It's debt and leverage. So the library in itself is anybody I can vibe with, like chances are they got something I want, and or vice versa. And we use our network and our library instead of cash now.
Oh yeah. That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. And we do live plants. So I do live plants. Like it'll be a little while before we can do them in production scale because of all the licensing and that stuff I got to do. But if for the right person, we'll get you live cuts to your house. Some of them I've paid thousands of dollars for. I've got, cuts that are $2,000-$3,000 cuts that we've worked the shit out of them, and I've got them ready for what I'm doing with them. Well, the right person can get it for $50. I don't care. If you ain't got no money, just send me the address. We'll still get it to you, kind of deal. Because it's just a clone, and we always cut more than we need. So when we're hunting through what we're trying to do, there's always 50, 60 that are literally going to go into the trash anyway.
Right. I got a Monkey Ranch, right, asking for the disabled vets in the outlaw backward states. what is there any advice?
As far as what, Monkey Wrench, like advice for those
As far
disabled
as
vets
what, my
out,
man?
find a different state. I mean, just based off the question there is over half of the country is, on the effect of legal cannabis or recreational cannabis or decriminalized cannabis. In that same latitude, a lot of people are stuck where they are. There's not no money to go nowhere. For those, meet a friend, meet somebody that lives in a state that's willing to help you out, or I can't. But there's,
You're talking.
if you're an outlaw, what goes with it. It's not hard to fathom popping a couple auto plants in the middle of a national forest by a river somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where guerrilla growing started.
Yeah, if you're going to be having to grow in an outlaw state, just somebody was mentioning fast autos, get them in and out quick, keep them small, do them indoors and shut your mouth.
Yeah, keep your mouth shut. Just don't tell them about your business. I mean, a guerrilla growing started when it was illegal. They give you a life sentence for it. So you just look back to what they were doing. They were growing it in trees. They were growing it on federal land. They were growing it up at the top of the mountains where nobody was ever fucking going. There's enough carbon filtration and tents on the market that the smell's almost obsolete. You know what I mean? If you ozone generators and different machines that you can pretty much alleviate the smell for the neighbors. And my advice is not grow cannabis in your state. That's first and foremost, because it's illegal. You're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail, man. It's not worth,
Yeah.
You'd be
that would
better
be the
off.
Safest bit of advice to give.
Yeah.
Sure.
Don't break the law, but there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Got you for sure. Hell yeah. I ain't seeing any more questions, guys. Come on now. Keep them coming. Anybody? They'll pop in here in a sec.
That's cool.
Hey, a Facebook user is asking if you're familiar with Dominion Seed Company.
Heard of them. Never used them.
I've never used them either.
Never used them. I've heard. I mean, I know who they are. A lot of the UK guys all tie back to Geno anyway. So I mean, if you go back in time and look at, Serious Seeds and a lot of the bigger names over there for the past 20 years before it was legal here in Amsterdam and the Netherlands, Phil and them were already influential over there. So I'd use Geno Farms. That's who I prefer.
Yeah, cool. You said Eugenia?
Geno, Geno, Geno Farms.
Got it. I'm going to write that down.
Check them out, man. They're out of the UK. The professor is a different breed. Like you keep giving the accolades. I mean, he's a different breed. He's a third generation me. His library, like I said, puts mine in the corner with a dunce hat. Silver versus STS. I like them both. It's the technique I was explaining to Joe earlier. Is when we do the reversal, is like I'll isolate the female 12 days ahead of time. We use the STS before I make the flip. On the day of the flip, I leave it alone for 3 more days. And then after the 3rd day, you start to see the pre-flowers. The 4th day, 5th day, when you start to see the pre-flowers, I like to use the colloidal silver at 100 parts per million. I think the colloidal silver combo makes more seed. I think it's a smaller seed, but there's more mass there.
Okay. And what is the smaller versus bigger? Is there a thing there?
Just something we noticed. It's the STS. I mean, they're big, happy, seeds, and if you just strictly use colloidal silver, they're smaller seeds. They germinate. They work just fine. They just produce a smaller seed for whatever reason.
Oh yeah, cool. Aaron says thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's good info, man. And so you got STS. All right. He said silver, which I know is colloidal silver or silver thiosulfate. What is the STS?
Silver. The 2-part. Yeah, it's the 2-part mix. It's a 2-part mix. So Fem Magic Company is the best one I've found. But and we'll just go back to this. Is like, everybody wants to use silver because they're scared of pollen. It's not COVID. I mean, and even though it spreads like COVID in your tent, if you're not careful,
right.
It's a 24-hour cycle. Okay. You break it down into 2 cycles, 10 hours on, 2 hours off, back on for 10 hours, and then off for 2 hours in the same 24 hours. your plant's getting all the vegetative growth that it needs. But that quick little light switch is starting the hormone change into pre-flowers. So what you'll see is the pre-sex hair flowers switching at the nodes. You'll see the 2 white hairs start popping out the nodes, and all the plants that don't start showing pre-sex hairs, we can pretty much assume are males. And then you just flip it back to your 18 and 6 and pull the ones that you didn't see sex hairs on, and the whole time you're in veg, you'll know you're working with a female.
Right. Hell yeah,
cool
that's
trick.
good.
Cool
That's
trick
awesome. And see, those are those kind of tricks that I try to tell everybody. When I hear them, I share them with them. There's a lot of people that have been around growing for a very long time, but maybe not have heard that technique.
Well,
and so that's why I'm always able to, or I guess apt to say it. They need to know that shit. That's really good stuff.
Well, the more silver you add to the problem, the more of the problem we have in cannabis. It's like in the early 80s when they figured this out. Like I said, it was all bag appeal. All the cannabis now, in my opinion, is all kissing cousin weed. It looks great. The curb appeal is there. There's no terps. You smoke it and you need to smoke again in 10 minutes. Some of these old Thai strains that we've been working with are 16%, THC, but I've got almost 6% terps. And you smoke one of those joints goofing off in the morning thinking it's okay, and I'm still high at 1 o'clock, and it's like, what is wrong with me? So I'm trying to figure out, like, go through a self-check, like, do I need Tylenol? Do I need to eat? I'm just like, I think I'm just still fucking baked. So that's where the allure from the time machine came from. So, I mean, silver is a necessary evil. I mean, in breeding, especially when you're trying to take it to market. A lot of people are terrified of non-fem plants for whatever reason. They just don't understand. And I think that you really degrade your genetic pool for hunting when you're just using one male and one female. I like open pollinating with four to five males to 1 or 2 females. And then we separate the females to different batches, and we separate them to different lots, and then we break them down into batches so we can start going back and figuring out where the best to start looking is. I'm around them so much, they don't faze me. I mean, that's just the difference. I mean, I think that people like feminized seed because there's no thought process. I'm going to veg it, and when I'm ready to flip it, and then it's going to be a female. A lot of bad breeding techniques that people don't know what they're doing. You get a lot of herms not using the reversals the right way. It's like you've stressed the plant to the point that it's only throwing herm seed anyway. So I just be careful. Know your breeder. Make sure you're getting from a reputable source. And not shout out to Instagram and Facebook, but that's not always the best spot to start. Freebie seeds, take them with a grain of salt, because usually that breeder hasn't done any R&D or done any follow breeding on it. It's just, I got to get it out. And it's just a lot that goes on in this scene that I wish there was a little more regulations around it.
I've noticed, and I agree with you 100%. Absolutely, man. But, they're working on it. I would like to think around here anyway. And so hopefully they get a handle on all the crap, you know what I'm saying? But I think we're going to go ahead and leave it right there, Pops. There's no other questions. Man, I really appreciate you coming on here and throwing down the goods with all your information, man.
Dude, y'all follow me. Y'all check me out on Instagram. It's at Pops Baked Beanz with a Z. It's www.popsbakedbeanz.com. My email's pops@popsbakedbeanz.com. Hidden Gems is my dispensaries up in the city. Y'all come find me.
Hell yeah, man. I look forward to working with you in the future, man.
Man, I look forward to meeting you guys. I look forward to, you guys getting some of our cuts and getting them in production. And we'll help TJ. And I look forward to meeting this native veteran that's out here that everybody speaks so highly of. And, I'm always open. The door's open. If I don't have this very minute to stop what I'm doing and pick up the call, I will get to it as soon as I can walk out that door.
Hell yeah, bro. We really appreciate you, man. Everybody's saying thank you for showing up, and thank you for what you do, my man.
I got y'all, man. Just let me know.
Cool, man. All right, everybody. Well, we are going to go ahead and end it up. Thank you for showing up. Next Thursday, I don't know. I'll post it. I can't remember what it is at the moment, but I'll post it, guys. And Pops, thanks for showing up, man. And I'll get with you again real soon. We need to talk shop, okay?
I got you, Pops. Let me know.
All right, man. All right, everybody. Have a good one.